It's Friday, March 21st, 2017 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and this is Higher Ed Special Edition. I'm your host, Andrea Boyle-Tippett from the University of Delaware. On today's live broadcast, we're talking Facebook Live. Facebook launched the popular feature about a year ago and is heavily invested in it. You've potentially seen the ads and noticed just how many live moments are appearing in your own news feeds. Facebook says when you compare live videos to other content, people watch for triple the amount of time. In this session, we will cover storytelling, tips, and tricks to help you master Facebook Live's broadcasting feature. Higher Ed Special Edition is part of the Higher Ed Live Network. Episodes offer you direct access to the best and brightest minds in education. Be a part of the live broadcast by sharing your knowledge and questions. Participate in today's discussion by tweeting with the hashtag HigherEdLive. Higher Ed Live is produced by M. Stoner, a marketing and communications firm that works with education institutions on branding, strategy, web design, and more. All of our episodes are free and easy to access in the video archives at higheredlive.com, or you can take us on the go with you via podcast. Today's episode is made possible by PRSA's Counselors to Higher Education Professional Interest section. Counselors to Higher Ed provides PR professionals working in colleges and universities with a few things: high-quality programs, publications, insights into the best ways to promote the value, power, and appropriate role of communications and marketing functions within institutions of higher ed, and networking. And speaking of networking, join us in 2 weeks at our Senior Summit in Washington, D.C. There, you'll meet with other senior-level communications pros and discuss a wide range of topics. Some of the chats on the docket are presidential transitions, how to be strategic on a shoestring, and the ever-popular media panel with journalists from Inside Higher Ed, The Chronicle, and Vox. And now, let's move on to today's chat. Our guest is Nick Persak, Social Media Coordinator for the University of Texas at Austin, a school that needs no introduction because it has its own hand signal, which I am sure Nick will be glad to demonstrate for you. In his role, Nick manages channels with a combined following of about 1 million. He began covering the world of higher education as a journalism student at LSU, where he worked as editor-in-chief of the student newspaper. He continued his higher ed storytelling as a professional journalist, reporting on the University of Louisiana at Lafayette for that city's daily newspaper. He joined UT Austin in 2014. In his current role, he leads long-term strategy for the university's social media channels, oversees daily publications efforts, and assists with presidential communications. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And that's the hook 'em horns.
I knew you'd be able to show them. I knew I would do it wrong, too. I thought mine looks like hang 10, I think.
Well, Matthew McConaughey always does it backwards, and we try to correct him, our famous alumnus, but
I think he does what he wants to do.
that's pretty much it.
So why don't we move into the meat of Facebook Live? You all at UT Austin have done such a great job with it. You really have seemed to use it in a variety of different ways. So let's kind of dig into what works, what doesn't, what you've learned, what others can learn, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We have been using Facebook Live, like you said. It's been around for about a year now. We started watching kind of how other people were using it and then kind of jumped on it. In the past year, we've done a few different things. And so today, I'll kind of run through some examples of what we've done, some of the lessons that we've learned, and some of the best practices that we've kind of established across the way. So I guess we'll go ahead and dive into it here. Let me share my screen.
And we can note that all of your slides are actually going to be, they're online. And so we're going to tweet out that the link for that as well. So if people want to follow along, they can follow along there as well.
Great. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, so Facebook Live, like we were talking about in the past year, it's really blown up. You know, I noticed during college football, they were airing commercials on TV. So it's really something that all Facebook users at this point are aware of. If you go to the actual Facebook website, they have a lot of really great tips and information about how to get started. And so I kind of went there and pulled just a couple quick pieces of information. How they describe Facebook Live, they just call it a fun, powerful way to connect with followers and create new ones along the way. At UT Austin, we've really kind of used it with interviews, with tours, with finding different ways to tell stories. And we've kind of done some sneak peeks and really behind the scenes, taking viewers to places that they otherwise would not get to go. Facebook Live is a great way to interact with people in real time while the video is broadcasting. You can connect with your followers. One of the other things that I really do think is important about Facebook Live is the way that it reaches people. So if you look down here, the push notifications are sent to some followers, and notifications are sent to users who subscribe to your live videos. They are actually able to subscribe to get a notification every single time you go live. And then Facebook on top of that sends a notification to a certain number of your users. In the past, I've heard everything from 1/3, which I can't imagine that's still the case, just to different percentages of your overall user base that'll get that notification when you go live. The other thing you see up here, they're more likely to appear higher in the news feed when it's actually live. So what Facebook tells you is 10 minutes is kind of like a good length for a video. The longer you're live, the better chance you have of people actually getting to see the video, right? Of it popping up in their news feed. So we'll just kind of dive right into it here. I'll start off with some examples of Facebook Live that I really like that are not things that we've done here at UT. These are people that I have found inspiration from, that kind of thing. So I'll hop over here. This first one that I'll show you is a woman that I went to college with, Chelsea, is a reporter down in New Orleans covering entertainment. And one of my favorite musicians, Trombone Shorty, was doing a one-on-one interview with her. She did this for about 25 minutes where she is, just sitting on a couch having a one-on-one Q&A with Trombone Shorty, with a musician. Users in the comments, you can see, they ask questions that she then relays to him and he answers. Again, just for a talking head video, it doesn't seem that exciting, but I think there's something about it because it's live that makes it more exciting. And I did. I sat here for 30 minutes and I watched this video for 25 minutes, but I wouldn't have done that had it just been a talking head, or not live at least, right? The other example that I'll hop to here is St. Louis University. So the guy here on the left is a man that I went to school with, high school and elementary school. He is studying to be a Jesuit priest at St. Louis University, and they do this little series of trivia where they ask questions about the Jesuit priesthood, and students can answer the questions on Facebook, and they can come by the activity center that they're in and pick up a prize if they won. So I think that's a really great way to engage users. A great example of a university using Facebook Live to do that kind of trivia thing, right? This other example I'll show you, USA Today. They did a 360-degree video during the inauguration. Which doesn't want to work now. But basically it was, as the inauguration was getting set up, you could look and see the crowds filling in that 360-degree format. The other example is different than what I've just shown from the other three, in that this is the New York Times, and it's kind of like it's almost like a storyboard of animations where they're doing these animations in real time. So here we have a story that they're talking about our president, Donald Trump, and talking about, you could see these little puppet kind of things. It's like these cutouts that they made ahead of time. They storyboarded this out, and they're relating and telling you the same kind of information that you might get from, the news article if you were to read the full report or whatever it was. We at UT have not tried any of these fun little storyboard kind of examples that I'm showing, but I think there's definitely, we've talked about it as maybe telling history stories from the university, cool things that have happened at UT in the past. So I think that's a few different examples of just what Facebook Live can look like, just to kind of start us off here. So let's just kind of dive into some of the logistics. If you're going to make these kind of videos, or some of the videos I'll show you here in a minute, the big takeaway that I'll sell to this group is that Facebook Live is something that any of you can do, whether you are someone who has never used Facebook Live at all, or you're someone who has like total AV knowledge with professional grade equipment, Facebook Live has a way that you can adapt your skill level to it. At UT, we've done it all sorts of ranges on the spectrum, where we've had, just me doing it by myself with a camera, where I've had my coworkers helping me, kind of run the camera, answer questions, and we'll talk more about some of that in a minute. One of the things I encourage you, if you are someone on the skill level spectrum or just using your smartphone, is to think about the tools that you can put onto your smartphone to make that video look better. For me, a lifesaver is the tripod. You can see this little bracket here, that second image. It just will screw on to any tripod that we have. It holds my cell phone, and it makes it very easy for me to have a steady cam where I'm panning around at an event or something. The other thing I'll suggest are these little, lenses that you can clip onto your cell phone, give you a wide angle, make your broadcast look a little bit that you might be using.
And on the tripod, I can piggyback on that, Nick. I mean, I think there's a lot of value, especially in having a tripod, and they're usually like what? You can get them for as cheap as $5, and it keeps your viewers from having to see shots that might make them actually feel ill at some point, with the moving around all over the place.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And like I said, the little bracket, the second picture, you can buy that really cheap off of Amazon, and it will attach probably to any of your tripods that you already own. So you can have a lot of option and flexibility with that. But the cool thing about Facebook Live is that it's not just limited to your smartphone. You can use all of these other devices beyond a phone to bring live video to your viewers. Here at UT, the two things that I've really gotten to experiment and play with are the Ricoh Theta S, which is this picture all the way over to the left. It is a 360-degree video camera. It's got a fisheye lens on either side of the device, and it will live stream in 360 degree directly to your Facebook from the camera. An example of that I was talking about with Andrea a minute ago, the university I graduated from, their football team, as they would run out of the tunnel onto the football field before a game, someone had set up a tripod with a 360-degree camera, and before the game, you could just watch the team run out and warm up, and you could look all around that, have that whole field of view. This second picture is a device that I have really grown to love, the DJI Osmo. It's a steady camera, so it's using your smartphone as a viewfinder and to broadcast to Facebook Live, but it has an actual separate camera on a gimbal that keeps your footage really steady. And so we've used that in our normal video production as well as for these live videos. And for walking around and doing a tour in live video, having that steady cam, that gimbal is immensely helpful. So then the other things that I haven't really experimented with are a drone. Number one, if you have drones, if your university is flying around with a DJI Phantom, you could connect to Facebook Live, which would be pretty cool. You can also use your typical webcam like we're doing here today on a desktop or a laptop. And the other option, which if you've been to any sort of a press conference or you have media, TV reporters that are coming to your campus, they might be doing this. They're going to use their professional grade camera, and they're going to run it through a box, kind of like this Webcaster X1, that will connect to a computer or connect to Facebook and send a that professional grade quality video straight to Facebook. So really, it's worth experimenting with some of the tools that are out there and figuring out what fits your skill level and your needs. The other thing, I'm not even going to go through all of these, but Facebook has these, and in the PowerPoint, you can click the link to get through it. These are all third-party companies that provide different solutions or different features that you can use in your Facebook Live videos. So it's worth kind of looking at some of those to get ideas about what is possible, what the tool can actually achieve. So what I'll do here is I'll flip back and we'll go through three kind of fun examples I have from UT. So the first one that I'll show you, we have an event on campus called Explore UT. We invite elementary school students and high school students from all over the state.
Your audio's dropped out for a second there, Nick.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so we have an event where we invite, it's like an open house for high school and elementary students across the state. They come to UT and they see all of these great things that are happening on campus. at the different colleges and schools. The law school, they do a mock trial of Goldilocks to see if Goldilocks is guilty or not. So this is an example of a video that I shot where in this mock courtroom, I just put my cell phone on a tripod and I was able to pan around in the video to see shots of the crowd. And later on in the video, you'll see shots of, the judge up there and that kind of thing. Another example I'll show you, kind of going back to the idea of taking users behind the scenes. Here at Texas, we have a very tall tower. That's our most iconic landmark on campus. At the top of the tower, we have a musical instrument, a bell tower, right? It's called the carillon. We have a group of students that play the carillon. They do it a couple times a week, different times a day. They play an array of different exciting songs. If you've ever been on UT's campus, you have heard the carillon play music. You've heard it chime when the time changes. But not many people have been up to the room where the actual instrument is. So one of the first Facebook Live videos we did was trying to take viewers to this top of the tower that they have never been in and to see how that music is played by a student. We've done more than one of these little kind of concert videos, and they've done really well. And they do well because we're taking viewers to an area that like they've all seen the top of the tower, but none of them have been up there. So that behind the scenes thing works really well. Another event kind of thing we do, covering events, we have an annual march and festival on MLK Day. So we went out there and just broadcast like the whole program pretty much. It was, 40, 50 minutes of programming of speakers talking about it. I shot this one on my cell phone as well. I did have a tripod, but I wasn't using it the whole time. I used it a little bit. But again, bringing viewers that are not on campus to that sense of place where they're able to experience this event in real time, even if they're not here with us in Austin. So let's bounce back over here. These tips here are ones that Facebook offers, that Facebook has on their Facebook Live page, and I think they're really a great starting point. Tell fans when you're broadcasting ahead of time. We do that on all of our channels, so we even cross-promote. We tell people on Facebook and on Twitter, hey, we're going to be live tomorrow at noon. Be sure you tune in. Go live when you have a strong connection. I'll talk more about this in a little bit, but it is good to make sure that you either have a great Wi-Fi connection or at the very least a strong 4G connection. Write a catchy description before going live. Everyone here that has worked with social media knows about writing in 140 characters, writing that snappy post for Facebook. Very true with live videos as well. If you're going to speak during your video, I think number 4 is a great one. Ask viewers to subscribe to your live notifications. Everyone who clicks subscribe to that, they then get a push notification every time you go live in the future. So that's a great way to build your audience on future videos by telling people currently watching to be sure they subscribe. Broadcast for longer periods of time to reach more people. This is, I think, one of the more surprising things in the realm of social media. For us, a lot of the videos that we share on Twitter, on Facebook, across social, they're pretty short. If we get to a minute, like that is longer than a lot of the attention span of our followers sometimes. But that rule seems to go out of the window with live videos. And part of it is how Facebook is pushing things into the newsfeed. The longer you're live, the more they're pushing it into the newsfeed, the longer they're doing that. So Facebook suggests at least 10 minutes for a live video. We never publish a standard non-live video that's 10 minutes long. I mean, that almost never happens. So don't be afraid to have a longer video. The examples I'm showing you are in that 10-minute and longer range. Use a closing line to signal the end of the broadcast. We usually just kind of end with a thank you for watching. We really appreciate you tuning in today. Be creative and go live often. I think just looking for opportunities to do it is always a good idea. So we'll kind of hop into some best practices here, and I'll kind of talk about some of the videos that I kind of learned them from. So the first one, we did a tour of an art museum on campus. We had President Finvez, the president of the university, and his wife, Carmel, came to the Blanton Museum of Art and took a tour of a reopened permanent exhibition, basically. We did a lot of planning ahead to make this happen. We actually worked with the curators of the museum to plan our route through the museum, to figure out which pieces of art in different rooms were the ones that we were going to stop at maybe and kind of show. They even offered details like the floor that we were walking on in this museum was wooden. They told me to wear quiet shoes that day. Things like that maybe you just wouldn't think of in the moment or the day of. Because we were able to, a week before we shot this video, we were able to meet up. It was, I think, a very helpful collaboration between the art museum and my office in making sure that we were ready. And then the other thing I'll say is
that sound piece may be really vital to consider when planning ahead, because I think people don't realize until they're doing a video how much ambient noise there can be in various places, because you just don't notice them in your daily course of business. But you may notice that inside of a room a freezer runs really loud, or a heater runs really loud, or you can hear the kids at the school across the street screaming, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and so what we have found is really just like going to the actual location you're going to film gives you a better idea ahead of time of what that background and white noise will be, and if it's going to be problematic. And if there is too much white noise, that's where you start thinking about hooking up a mic to anyone that's on camera, or whatever options you have with a microphone. But the last thing I'll say about this in planning ahead is really thinking about how you will prompt and prepare the people who will appear on camera. So like in this example here, going to tour the art museum, we did this with the director of the Blanton Museum of Art and with the president of the university and his wife. And I'm not sure that any three of them had like personally used Facebook Live or how familiar they were with the platform. So we really did, before we turned the camera on, we explained to them what Facebook Live was, how it worked. That's a live video that people will be watching in the moment on Facebook. We kind of gave them the same kind of from the tips I showed you a minute ago, saying this is the end of the broadcast, or welcome, this is the start. I'm President Finvez, blah, blah, blah. Those kind of things. Being clear with the prompts gives your viewer the context they need to make sense of whatever you're just diving into. This other one I'll actually show you the video, best practices, it's move. I mean, for me, I think a lot of the videos are really interesting when there is like action and movement around. On campus, we have this big rally we do before our big rivalry football game, where students carry tiki torches up and down the street. They close the street for this big parade. And so what I did for this one was I went out there with my phone on a tripod, and I like literally followed this whole parade as they walked around, which if this video will load for us, we'll be able to see a little bit of. But I think with this one of the things we found is it does really well because it's spirited content. Probably our most popular Facebook Live video to date. We lasted about 30 minutes on this broadcast, from where the parade started to where it ended, where they do a pep rally. One of the things I mentioned earlier was writing that snappy caption to go with your post. This might not seem particularly snappy to you if you're not from UT, but if you're from UT, you get it. One of our fans saying, they always point out whatever time of day it is, it's 12:23. And then another person says, and OU still sucks, making fun of Oklahoma. Sorry if we have Oklahoma people here today.
No offense, Oklahoma.
So with this post, I just did, it's 8 o'clock, ... And every Longhorn fan knew what I was getting at. It's our rival. It's this big thing, right? And so I think that snappy cut line, that caption, helped with this video. And so with this one, like I said, I had my phone on a tripod, and I was moving up and down the parade route as they marched. I could hold it up way up high above my head to kind of get a bigger view of the whole thing. So that was pretty neat. This next best practice, I think, was one I learned from the video I just showed you, because I didn't do it on that one, but it's just dive in, like start immediately. So a lot of your people that are going to join and watch your Facebook Live are doing it because they get that notification right when you start. So they are getting on at the start of the video. though some users certainly will join in the middle, what others are going to do is they're going to see it after your broadcast has already ended. And once it's ended, they're going to be starting with the beginning when they see that post after the broadcast is concluded. So with this video, literally all I did was a walk around campus, and to dive in, to get straight to the action, I tried to start with that, opening 2 different doors right away and going straight down the steps of our tower that everyone that has been a student at UT recognizes this view right here. Just, going straight to the action, I think, helped make this successful, in that people got hooked and they wanted to stay with it for the duration of the video. The other thing I'll say about this video that was very popular for us, it is an hour long. I literally just walked around our campus doing a tour on a beautiful day until my equipment died. The battery died after an hour, right? I was using the Steadicam, that DJI Osmo that I mentioned earlier. But I got this idea from the New York Times. So I showed y'all some examples of what other people are doing. I think it's always great to look at what the trendsetters in social media are doing on Facebook Live and sort of see how you can adapt and mimic ideas for your brand and for your university. So I saw this video where they were saying, it's a snowy day in New York, let's go walk through Times Square. They did a little 9-minute video. I thought, hey, it's cool. It's like not snowing in Texas. And I waited for a pretty day here in Austin and then spent an hour replicating this kind of feel. So hopping into another best practice that I've had some learning experience with, talk loudly or get a microphone. So we did this one here. We have acclaimed photographer Ann Hamilton on the left with one of our deans of the art department here on the right. Ann was opening a new exhibit here on campus. And actually, Ann and our dean, Jack, were old friends. They had gone to graduate school together. Part of the problem with this video was the sound. They were both fairly soft-spoken people. So even though they were saying very interesting things, they were saying it kind of quietly. And it was in an area with that white noise that Andrea and I were kind of talking about a minute ago, where it just sort of drowned them out to where I think some of our viewers had complaints about maybe not hearing the audio as well as they could have. So really, truly, think about any kind of microphone that you can adapt or have in situations where it'll be hard to hear your source, or at the least encourage them to speak loudly and clearly. Keep in mind that people are listening to these Facebook Live videos like on their cell phone, so it's not like they're in their home theater with surround sound or anything. The next best practice, I think, is a very important one. I think part of the whole appeal of Facebook Live, at the start of this presentation, I was talking about it's a way to connect with people, engage in real time. We've kind of done it both ways. During the actual broadcast of the video, I've tried having my coworker, Desiree, sit there at a computer or on her phone where she can like comments and she can reply to questions that people have or, whatever it is. We don't always have that luxury. So for instance, this one I did was another walking tour around a museum. We have the Wildflower Center. So after the fact, after I had concluded the video, the first thing I did was open up my laptop and go there and reply to as many of the comments as I could. And these were comments like the one on the bottom asking, where's the Wildflower Center located? And I'm just giving people the address. Or it's even replying to comments like this woman who is from Carla. She's from Kansas. And she says, so pretty, we don't have bluebonnets. And I say, just another excuse to come visit or move to Texas. And she just replies back, that's a great excuse to come back home. I mean, that sort of connection that I made with this user over this, I think, is invaluable. Carla will now pay attention to all of our Facebook Live videos and our posts because she feels that we've been able to reach out and interact with her personally. I think that's a great thing. I kind of hit on this one a minute ago, cross-promoting. I would really encourage you to cross-promote your video both on Facebook and on your other channels, both ahead of the actual Facebook Live video broadcast and after. So you can see these 2 pictures down here. We did that museum tour with our president that I mentioned. So ahead of the time, before the actual broadcast started, we did a post on Instagram and said, hey, this is a new gallery. It doesn't open until Sunday, but you can get a behind-the-scene sneak peek on Facebook Live today at 1:15. Tune in. with this Ann Hamilton with the tweet that you see on the right. This was the photography exhibit I mentioned a minute ago. Same kind of thing. We made an image. We put that Facebook Live logo on there, and we say, hey, Twitter, you aren't going to get a push notification for it because we're on Twitter, but hop over at 3, open up Facebook, and you'll get to catch this really cool live video. We've had some success with that. The other note I'll add is think about how you can promote it to audiences that don't know your university. With this photography one on Twitter, we were trying, hopefully, to pick up people that were interested in Ann Hamilton and this photographer and her work. And I think we did. Maybe people that don't follow us or aren't aware of UT on Facebook, they were able to pay attention and get in on it because they saw it on Twitter.
And before we move on, before we move on, speaking of Twitter, I'm just going to remind everyone who's watching that you're welcome to send in any questions or comments using the hashtag HigherEdLive.
Hashtag HigherEdLive. Submit your questions. So this other best practice was kind of, again, a learning experience for me. We just had South by Southwest down here in Austin. We at UT had a venue where we had a few different panels, presentations, that kind of thing. One of our students, an architecture student, designed and built a tiny house that you can see here in this picture. So he was giving a presentation on the tiny house, a panel, and he also brought the tiny house to downtown Austin where viewers, people who came to South by, could go into the house and kind of see it for themselves. Well, the Spanish language CNN was in town to just do general reports on South by Southwest, and so they had connected with our media relations team here to see kind of what the university was doing. And kudos to our media relations team. They did a really great job helping set this up. But they got the reporter from the Spanish language CNN to come and interview our student about this tiny house and the cool things happening at South by. Well, we kind of just threw it out there like you could do a live thing. And they did. They did this, Facebook Live video. And they have a extremely large audience that is, I would bet, almost entirely different than the audience that's on my UT Austin Facebook account. These are people in South America, even Spanish speakers all over the globe that are probably maybe not looking at things on UT that we got our brand in front of because we worked with another publisher to do a Facebook Live video. So as you have media that comes to your campus to tell stories, think about how you can set them up with a Facebook Live video of whatever it is on your campus that they're there to cover. It's a great way to get your brand out, not only on your social channel, but on other publishers' channels as well. This is an interesting one. Andrea and I kind of talked a little bit about the other day about who is on camera. At UT here in our marketing and communication department, we don't really have a person who is kind of like that on-camera personality. I think some of your universities might. If you have that person, I think it's absolutely great to kind of do it the same way you would see on your local news with like a stand-up and everything, have that person be in front of the camera. But really what we've focused on is trying to get our faculty, staff, students, and even our president to be that on-camera personality who leads the Q&A with the artist. It was the dean who leads the tour through the museum, our president, or whatever it might be.
And actually, that kind of piggybacks on a question that we were getting via Twitter from Erica Santiago, who's at NYU School of Business, Stern School of Business, and she was asking, like, how have you experimented with faculty or faculty content at all? And I would kind of piggyback on that and say, have you had good response when you've asked faculty and others to get involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've all been pretty thrilled. I mean, in general, people are very excited and happy to get onto our social channels, and they're willing to work with us. I think the same way if you're a media relations person and you're thinking about, is this researcher or is this professor the right person to put on camera? You kind of have to think about those same personality considerations here. And so really, maybe a way to make that be more effective is think about who the moderator could be, right? So when we did that museum tour I mentioned, thankfully Simone, the director of the Bryant Museum of Art, she is a very personable individual. She is great on camera. And so her interaction with our president, who is also the same way, they were able to play off of each other really well. When I mentioned the photographer, when we had one of our deans that did he was like kind of the moderator for that Q&A for that interview. It was helpful having someone there who could steer the conversation in a knowledgeable way. Like he had a deeper knowledge about the art than I would have for sure. And so having him as a faculty member who is comfortable enough to be both a host and an expert was really a great experience for us. You
might even want to think about how you can incorporate students doing that sort of thing, or graduate students. If there's a lab and somebody works in that lab, or somebody works in that, the student who's studying in that field could potentially be that person too. Yeah,
absolutely. Students are probably an easier sell to get them on camera. I think they would all love to be on any of your Facebook accounts, I'd imagine. Yeah, and really, I think it's also a good idea to think about students because this is the world that they have grown up in. So like they're already used to like talking on camera in this way and doing these sort of live videos. So they really have the personality for it. The other thing I guess we kind of learned in the middle of this, right? So during that art museum tour, I have the director of the museum and then the president of the university on camera, and I'm like operating the camera, and I see people are asking questions that are coming in on Facebook Live. And like I've said, that's really, that interaction is one of the best parts of Facebook Live, is that you have that opportunity to interact with people. We have found, from the way we're doing it, because I'm not like on camera, just from behind the camera, I will say, President Finvez, Simone, we have a question from the audience. So-and-so, John Doe wants to know this painting. So relaying the question from behind the screen is not problematic. I don't think viewers expect to necessarily see you, even if they can hear you. They kind of have an understanding that like someone is operating that camera and probably relaying those questions. The other example of that I'll give is as I did that walking tour around campus, I'd get to different statues or art pieces on campus that would have like, an inscription or something you could read on the plaque. I would just read that aloud from behind the camera because you might not be able to read it on, your little tiny mobile screen.
And there's a couple related questions that actually came in through Twitter on that as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so one question was, how many people do you need to support live? And you were talking about you running the camera and your colleague, I think you said your name's Desiree, doing the questions off camera.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, the reality in higher ed is we all probably have very different size staffs. And I think, again, one of the selling points about Facebook Live is it runs the gamut. You can have anywhere on that scale of like a full-fledged production all the way down to like one person with their phone. So like I said, with the museum tour, that was me and my coworker Desiree. We were there. I was running the camera, and Desiree was like flipping through, looking at questions and liking comments. When I did the walking tour around campus, it was just me. I just, had the camera and walked as briskly as I could everywhere I went. Other times it is helpful maybe to have someone there to kind of help, steer people out of the screen if they're trying to get on camera when they shouldn't.
To be your personal really bodyguard, basically.
Right, to be a bodyguard. So some of that is all stuff that I think, internally with your own office, you kind of have to talk about and figure out what you think is the right approach on the handling.
But like if you have a small staff, even people who don't work on the social media side, anyone who works in your office could potentially read through the questions, pick out questions, and feed them to the person running the camera.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a social media team member.
Absolutely, and that's really a lot of what we've done. My coworker Desiree and I are main social media people here on our staff at UT, but our other communicators have also gotten involved in helping, and like you're saying, fielding questions, whatever it is that comes up. Yeah.
I'll let you keep going because I have a ton of questions coming through, so I'd like to be able to get through your slides and then maybe get to those questions.
Sure. So I'll breeze through these 3 lessons I've learned the hard way. Make sure your equipment is fully charged, like duh. I was doing one and the battery died, and so that was just kind of the end of that one. Make sure you know how to use your device too. The art tour that I saw, if you go back and look in the links, it got split into 3 separate videos. I accidentally hit a button on the camera once that cut it off, and then on the second time, someone actually called my cell phone and it interrupted it. So if you're on Wi-Fi, you can flip your phone on the airplane. It'll still be connected to your Wi-Fi, so you're broadcasting, but then your mom won't be able to call and interrupt it. And then number 3 is a particularly funny one for me. I was filming that the trial of Goldilocks at the law school. I was on on a tripod, right? And as I'm panning and I'm zooming in, you zoom in on your phone, I accidentally double tapped the screen, and that flipped the camera on my phone from the back of the phone to the front of the phone. So there was definitely a good 5 seconds somewhere in the middle of that video where I have that like really confused look on my face, like, why am I on TV all of a sudden? So what I've realized is if I'm only going to be using that back camera on my phone, what I'll do is I will take like a Post-it note or just tape a little piece of paper over the front. That way, if I accidentally flip it around, it just goes to a black screen and not mine. Very confused and surprised.
They got to sneak peek behind the scenes again. They got to see who was running the camera. So
yeah, exactly.
And I do have a point about your signal. Your number 2 there is that, and this is from personal experience, make sure you check the signal and then think about if that signal is not going to be that strong when the room is full of people. So I can say from personal experience, I mentioned this to you, Nick, I said, let's put the announcement of our new athletic director on Facebook Live. And did not account for, once we filled the room up with the people who were attending the event, that they would also be using the signal, and therefore the signal was not strong enough, and it looked, it was not a great situation.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, just the problem I had this week on Monday, I went out, it was the first day of spring, right? So I went out to our museum, the Wildflower Center. It's just a bunch of wildflowers, right? And it's a little bit on the outskirts of the city. And as I went out there, I realized, well, am I not on signal? Well, if you go back and watch that video, it kind of cuts in and out as I'm losing signal. And so, Andrew, kind of playing to your point, the good news I have here is, in general, I think people on social media, they can be very forgiving. Sometimes they aren't, but they can be. And I think in what we've done here at UT, we've seen that people are understanding that it's a live video. Like, they get it, they understand that, like, this isn't something we've edited. It adds that authentic feel to it. So I think if you have a little bumps along the way, just apologize to your users and hopefully they'll be okay with you. Measuring success, I think it's always important to think about if what you're doing is working, right? So right now, what we're doing is I'm comparing the metrics of UT's, of our live videos, to the same benchmarks that I've set for our other posts, right? So we have different benchmarks of reach and engagement rates that I'm trying to hit on anything that I'm posting. That's the same bar that I'm holding myself to here with our live videos. That's something that you and your office will have to talk about internally to figure out what works best for you. I think the live videos do give you a little bit more detailed metrics. Like, this image here is kind of interesting. You can see the green bars are for women and the blue bars are for men. Apparently women were much more interested in and stayed watching longer our tour of the Wildflower Center than men did. I guess they were more interested in flowers than most of our male followers.
I'm not going to say you're being sexist, but we'll just move on.
Sorry. I mean, I love the wildflowers. I went out there and I thought it was going to be like this crazy thing. So seeing this really surprised me. I thought, in Texas, we're like crazy about our bluebonnets. I would have thought that like it would have been a much more even number. So that was a weird result that I saw, or a surprising one at least. This first question, did the right people watch? That's a hard one to answer, and it's harder to glean from the metrics. The way that I kind of judge that is truly off the questions that people are asking. So like with that art tour, we had a lot of people that obviously were vested in the museum. They had been there before. They were interested in coming when it reopened. And so I could see just from the questions they were asking that they were the right people that we wanted to see that sneak peek. You can also boost posts like you would any other. We haven't done that at UT. Another way to boost, get your reach higher. I won't run through all of these numbers for these different live videos, but if you want to go back and look at them and glean whatever you will from them, they're in the presentation. The ones that I have highlighted here in orange, though, are worth noting. Those are the highest numbers out of all these videos. The longest average watch time and the one that reached the most people and had the most unique viewers, these are both spirit related. That's the one going to the top of the tower with that musical instrument and our big parade before our rival game, right? So even though we have these other ones that are great showing research and maybe the knowledge here and expertise at UT, as we find with all of our other content, people love spirit. They love that, hook 'em attitude, right? Just some cautionary tips. I think these are not anything that I would like totally stress about, but it's worth at least being aware of. Kind of what I tell people across the board. Facebook is generally pretty clear about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But what they're not clear about is when they decide to enforce those rules, right? So sometimes you could do something that maybe is against their term of service and not have a problem at all. Other times it could result in like your page being suspended or shut down, or who knows. One of the things, the live reaction polls, you've probably seen these. They have companies that you can contract with. They do these. So like the example I'll give, I'm from Louisiana. During Mardi Gras, I saw one. It's like literally a split screen with an image on either side. It was like crawfish on one side, king cake on the other. And it was telling people like, choose the, the like for crawfish or the love for king cake. Which one do you like more? And it's got a counter that just shows as people are voting in real time. That is actually against Facebook's terms of use. You're not supposed to do those. I've seen publishers all over doing it. If it's something you're really interested in, I would just caution you and urge you to talk with any company that you're working with and see what they would say about it, as well as just check the Facebook, the actual Facebook blog, the Facebook Help Center, and see if they've changed or updated their terms of service. They are constantly evolving, right? The other thing, pre-recorded video. Sometimes I see, like BuzzFeed or whomever, they might show like a live video from like outer space, and it's like very obvious that's like not live, so they're gaming the system and using pre-recorded videos in the live format to get it pushed out on the newsfeed. That is a violation of Facebook's terms of use and could land you in some hot water. The other thing that I'll throw in here, crashing your live stream. Like if you, like I did that walk around campus, right? And I was really kind of worried. I was thinking, I was like, oh man, like what if some students like see this on Facebook and they like come find me and they're like waving, political signs or have some sort of message that like would not be appropriate. Thankfully that didn't happen, but I think it's always a good idea to know how to turn your, turn that broadcast off if you need to, or how to divert from whatever be stealing attention when you don't want to. The copyrighted music is one of the things I've read about online. I've heard people talk about it. I have not personally had this problem. I have seen DJs talk about like they wanted to live stream like their whole like DJ set, and because they're playing like copyrighted music, it gets like pulled. I've been to events around campus where like there's a lot of white noise around and maybe like one booth is playing music, and that has not been enough, at least in our circumstance, problem with us. So I guess that was really all I have. So we'll go back to questions. Andrew, if you have anything you want to add, and then if there's any questions you have that you're not thinking of now, feel free to connect with me on email, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat.
I do have a couple questions, and there's been a great number of questions coming in. They're really good questions so let me ask other people's questions first. So
absolutely.
To Erica at NYU Stern School of Business, she also said, did you narrate the whole 60 minutes of your live tour? I watched and you did not.
I did not. I almost said nothing for that whole video, really. And I think that I mean I didn't have a whole lot to say. Number one, we did ask people like, where do you want to go on campus? And so as I kind of saw people saying like, go here, go there, I just kind of went where they were saying, and they were like, oh, thank you. I don't think it would have. It might have been a good idea actually, to talk and interact with them, even if they couldn't have seen my face. I think what we see with normal videos that we post on Facebook is like the vast majority, like sometimes upwards of 90%, watch those videos without sound. But something about live video, when they get that live notification on their phone, on their computer, they click the sound button, they unmute, they are listening, I think. So yeah, it might have been a good idea to have thought of ahead of time of what could I say as I walk around for 60 minutes. Yeah.
It's all trial and error. I don't know. Talking for 60 minutes as you walk around would be a little bit tough, but you could pop in here and there. But I mean, it also shows the flexibility, right? It shows like that you can do something that's relatively simple and it works well, just going through your daily life there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so another question, and I'm squinting because it's really small on my screen. Laura Morosi says, what is the Facebook page you use for doing live broadcasts? Is it the general university page or is it a specific one?
So we use the main UT Austin, the top level university account. We do have all of our colleges and schools that are on here. They all have a presence on Facebook. Some of them have done their own Facebook Live. Some of them haven't. Really, what I've done here in the central communication office in working with the communicators across campus is asking them to think of ways to get their school onto our Facebook, right? That maybe we could go do Facebook Live. I asked them to pitch that to us. So if it's not the right fit, maybe they'll just do it from their individual school's Facebook page. But if it fits into our calendar and it seems like a good fit, yeah, we'll elevate that and do it from the main one.
And if you're doing it on yours, can they cross-post it on theirs?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. I don't know if it lets you cross-post the same way that Facebook lets you like literally allow cross-posting with normal videos. You might have to wait until after the broadcast is concluded to do that, but you can definitely share the post while it's live. And so like, for instance, this one with the Blanton Museum of Art, we did that art tour. So that was like a really big deal for them because they have so many followers on their Facebook that wanted to see a sneak peek in the museum too. So they promoted the event on their social media channels ahead of time and after, and they also shared our video in real time as we were doing it. So all of their audience could see it if they liked the Blanton's page, the museum's page, but not the UT page, right?
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, Tom Restretti, who's the director of digital communications at Willamette University, has asked during that tour, how do you deal with the copyright? So did you need the artist's consent to record their works?
That is a very good question, and it is one that we did talk about before we started that. And I mentioned planning ahead. That is obviously not. I mean, I'm a communicator. I am not an art curator. That is like totally out of my normal wheelhouse. We really relied heavily on the staff at the Blanton Museum of Art for that, and they consulted with us. They raised the concern. We talked it out. There were certain art pieces that when we planned our route, we decided to not go near out of concerns that the curators had about what you're mentioning, copyright issues. And then they were okay with the ones that we showed because they were in passing on a lower quality video, or people aren't going to like, it'd be very hard to take this piece of work from our live video and recreate it in any kind of high res reproduction. So I guess my answer to that is really we defer to the experts on that. We defer to the curators of the museum who they deal with that copyright stuff on a more daily basis with those specific works of art. So planning ahead and thinking about that is definitely worth it. Have you ever thought about the question, and I know it comes up sometimes here, about capturing things as they're happening and permission from people who may be kind of caught incidentally on camera? My thought is, they're in a public space and therefore it's not a big issue, but I don't know if you've dug into that. I mean, I haven't. I'm not a lawyer. Let's start with that. And number two, I earned a mass communication degree with a focus in print journalism, worked as a print journalist. I am of the mindset that if you're in a public place, you have no reasonable right to an expectation of privacy. These are things that we were able to do without running into problem. We haven't yet. I don't suspect that we will. If someone were to raise that concern, I'd be happy to consider that. Obviously, I think, we rule out some things maybe, like, I don't know, anything that would be sensitive we wouldn't do. Like for instance, the president goes and gets a flu shot every year. Well, like we didn't put that on Facebook Live because there's other people in the room like getting flu shots. Like that's a medical concern, right? Mm-hmm. But we were able to take a picture of him getting his flu shot with, the doctor who gave consent to have his photo taken. So yeah, definitely balancing some of that and figuring out what maybe Facebook Live isn't the right thing for everything, right? Yes, absolutely. There you're not thinking about the people who are grossed out by the picture of people getting shots, though, like myself. But that's a whole different problem. So another question, which is coming from Rutgers social media coordinator Nakia Korea, she's asking, can you save the live feed upload to YouTube? It's a good question. There's definitely a way to do it. I have not personally done that. I think off the top of my head, the way that I would do that probably is a screen recorder. I'm not sure if Facebook lets you download, like backwards download the video. I could check on that and find out. But so you could have the Facebook Live video. You could screen record a file and upload it to YouTube if it doesn't let you backwards download. It's a good question, Marcus.
But Facebook would have it. Yeah, that is a good question. Facebook logs in, and then you have a record of it. You have a video you can embed if you need to. All those sorts of things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So once the broadcast concludes, it gets shared to your page like a normal video. When you go to your profile on the left-hand side, when you click post and all that, if you go down to videos, your live videos will be in there with your other ones. So yeah, it is preserved. You can embed the live video website probably. If you want to move it to YouTube, I would think that's an option. Might just take an extra step.
I have one question about, I'm sorry to be kind of the doom and gloom person here, but are there concerns about the open nature of the comments? So if you look at any of the past videos, on any Facebook Live, you see that the real-time comments come in, and some of them may be completely unrelated, just as any comments on Facebook. Do you have any specific concerns about those, or ways you handle them in live versus non-live?
I don't have a great answer. I don't have a magic bullet for that. I wish there was, some sort of like catch-all solution. That is one reason why I do like having a second person, someone who's operating the camera, and then someone who can monitor the comments, to engage, to filter. If you have your like profanity and safety filters on, it should catch a lot of that. We do, however, we on UT's page, like the number, like the most frequently occurring problematic comments I see are spam posts, people that are like telling you to go download movies illegally or whatever it is. We might not catch them right in real time. If we don't, after the fact, we go back and we hide or delete those comments. Again, I think, if someone's seeing like download Beauty and the Beast, like in the comments, I think the other users kind of just skip over it. They kind of know that's some spam bot or whatever. So it hasn't been, at least from where we're sitting, a major problem. We haven't had, I would say we have had no more difficulty with our live comments than we have had with our normal Facebook post comments.
That's a good way of putting it. Actually, Erin, our producer here, said she just checked, and you can download a video that was initially broadcast as live. Yeah. So, okay. I think with that, we've captured all the questions. I've gotten some great feedback on Twitter of people who you answered the questions saying thank you. So I'm passing on those thanks to you.
Well, thank you all for watching. This is great.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll just wrap up. I will remind you that PRSA's Counselors to Higher Education Senior Summit is coming up in 2 weeks. So there is still spaces available if you'd like to sign up for that. We will have a great seminar workshop there happening, and we'll have fantastic networking opportunities and all sorts of good stuff happening. So thanks again to our guest, Nick Persak of the University of Texas at Austin. We appreciate you joining us for this special edition of Higher Ed Live. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks for having me.